Hello. Okay, I'm going to keep this introduction as short as I can, and I'll just quickly talk you through what this video is going to be and how it's going to be different to the last one. So, just to quickly explain, last video we introduced Delta Lake. So, Delta Lake is basically a data lake, and it stores files in a Parquet format. And what that does, that just makes your data a lot more efficient. So efficient to find and efficient to query, and reduces its size a bit too, and also allows for more better paralleled computing. So if the files are divided, then to simultaneously process that data, that makes it also a lot more efficient to do so. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go into GitHub, and I'm just going to quickly explain the changes we'll make. We'll make changes to classes and to jobs. So I'll just go into jobs, and we've got sales in there. And in sales, there's two areas that I want to focus on. It's going to be transform data and also export. So we just want to expand upon that a little bit more, what values we send to export. Because we might want to put some more arguments in there. So we'll put some more arguments in there that we send to the method, and that gives us more flexibility as to how and what we export our results to, including Delta Lake tables. And then the changes that we make in transform data, I'm just going to include a few more steps in here. So I just want to make it apparent that what we're doing, we're ETLing the data, so we are exporting it to data frame. Then with that data frame, we're doing further transformations, so we're changing columns, exploding columns, changing column types, that sort of stuff. And then within transform data, within that function, that's where we also want to specify that we want to save our table. Export our results. So I've got it blanked out here, but that's pretty much what we want to do is export the result. But then also on top of that, I just want to also provide some indication that once we have exported our result to Delta Lake, we also want to get it out. Now, I don't recommend getting that data out in this particular file, this job file, because this is really an ETL file. I recommend doing that in a different file, but I'm going to put indication of being able to get the data out of the Delta Lake table in this file. So I'll just create another step down here to say this is what we want to do further. All right. So those are the changes I'm going to make in sales. And let me just go over to our class. And I'm going to make a few changes in here. So if I just quickly go over to creating a data frame, I want to clean this up a bit. So remember that I said it's simple for the moment because we've just got we're creating data frames from either CSV or JSON data. But what if we have a plain text file, and from a plain text file we'll create a RDD, right? So I've made a mention of that up here, and I just want to facilitate that in a much easier way. So instead of having this if statement down here and having to expand upon that if statement if I include new functions, then that will get fairly sloppy very quickly. So what I want to do is just loop through all of these functions without having any if statements. My if statements, just keep those to a minimum where they're required, which is the beginning of a function, a conditional at the beginning of a function, and if that condition is met, then we can do something with it. All right. Now the next bit I'm going to make changes to is going to be export df, and I'm going to expand upon that quite a bit. So right now, what we can do, we can create a Delta Lake table, and it's very simple. Create a table, populate it with the data frame data, right? But there are things in here which we need to consider, like what if the table already exists? then do we want to merge that data or append data to it? So appending data would be just throw the data inside of the existing table, regardless if that data exists or not. Just keep throwing that data in there. There might be use cases for doing that, but majority of the time, if the data already exists, then you don't want to include duplicate data inside of that table. You want to have some sort of condition that says, okay, only add the data if it doesn't exist. So that's what we also want to put in there. So we want to expand this method to say, okay, what do we do when we're asking for different types of exports of that data? So whether it's Delta, whether it's CSV, whether it's JSON, or whatever it is, how do we handle that? And and just below that, I won't do it in an export DF, but I'll create additional methods explicitly just for handling Delta Lake tables. So we'll do that as well. So those are the areas which we want to focus on. So I just wanted to give you a quick introduction, so you get a good idea as to where we're going with this. All right, that's the end of this section, and we'll get on to the next section. Cheers. Okay, so before I do anything, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to update us where we left off and run the current script. So I'm just going to go into tutorial, and actually what I'll do, I'll just get a Vim window open first. So if we want to do some editing, we can. And so the file that I'm going to run is going to be this one, sales. And I just want to sort of update us on exactly what this file is doing and where we are. Alright, so that's done, and let's take a look. So we've got the temp folder, and what it's done, it's created a Spark directory and a Delta directory. So initially what it does, in config, it creates a Spark session, and that Spark session contains all of our settings belonging to our session. And then we've got the data frames. So the data frames that I created, customers, products, and transactions. It just has the fields and the count of the number of records. So we've got the schema of the fields, the types, and the count. And then we have Delta. So we've created the Delta tables. We've got sales. We've got customers, products, and transactions. So customers, it was just a small amount of data, one file. It's created one file. Same with products, it's really tiny. But then you've got transactions, which were a few more files. But what it's done is created three files for those. So you just have a little bit more data. All right, so that's a quick run of the the file, to see exactly what we get. And what we can do, we can just get rid of some of it, get rid of this. So, just do a delete, move to trash, Spark, move to trash. I didn't really need to delete it, but I'll just delete it. Okay, so before I do anything else, I'm just going to make a quick tidy up on classes. And classes is where we're really going to make most of our changes. But there's just a couple of things that I want to do. I just want to introduce a new variable in our config. So because what I want to do, I want to be able to use the paths for our debug. So here we've got the debug up here, right? So we've got temp spark, and I just want to introduce another one, and that's going to be a full path. So that's going to be where our Spark session is. And instead of having multiple variables and passing those variables through, then I've decided what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce more paths or more variables, but I'm going to carry just the tuple. So if I introduce more paths, then I'm carrying one tuple, and I can get everything I need out of that tuple. All right, so to make that better understood, let's make that change. So here we've got config paths, and it's going to be a tuple, and here we've got an f string. So that's going to be self.config, not config, debug directory. That is correct, just need to put my quotes in there. And then we're going to have a path of config. Oh, sorry, yeah, just like that. And we'll have our second value, which will be, and I can just copy that, config spark session dot JSON. Okay. All right, so down here, the first place where I'm going to receive it is going to be here, and in my get settings I just want to put in here the variable. So config paths, and that's going to be a tuple, not a string. Okay. And then down here, this is where we want to make a change. So if I just copy this, and this is going to be our first tuple. So debug create file, and that'll be config paths 0, and then the second one we're going to just replace that. So here we've got the full path, and we just want to replace that full path. So config paths 1. Okay. Alright, so let's just quickly run that just to make sure there's no mistakes in that. So I did delete our temp folders. Alright, so let's just run that. There is going to be an error. So it's saying required positional argument config paths. So what I didn't do, I didn't put config paths down here, get settings. So config paths, where we call our function, and let's run that again. Is there anything in there? No. Okay, let's run that again. So, oh, sorry, still doesn't recognize it. So what have I done here? So it's going to be self, not just config paths. So let's rerun that. Sorry, I was just about to say something. What was I going to say? Yeah, so just go back to this point of why I'm doing this. So yeah, as this increases and I get more paths or variables, then I'm just finding I'm trying to establish a more efficient way to call on those variables by putting them in the tuple. Alright, so let's see if that's finished. So I'm just going to make these slight changes, run the code, make sure everything's okay. And I could probably shorten this code down a bit, like what I'm doing. So I'm still kind of like doing 17, 18 stages of Spark, 21 stages. I could probably just do one thing, but for the moment I'll just leave it as it is because I don't want anything to drastically change. So everything is running as it should be. Delta is still going here. Delta tables are still being stored or saved to my temp. Okay, so let's make the other change. This is a change that I really wanted to make, but what I wanted to do, I wanted to show you me making that change and why I'm making that change. What difference does it make? It doesn't make a huge amount of difference. We're just going to get rid of our if statements, and we're going to update create dataframe, so this particular method. So we've got some functions in here, so from CSV, from JSON, and we're just going to replace this if statement. So if we're saying if the file type is CSV or the file type is JSON, that's going to get pretty ugly. So let's make some changes to that, and I'll just get rid of that. And so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to say if is instance, and in that instance we're going to pass in the Spark session. So that's going to be Spark session. Okay, here we are. Sorry, I get lost as we bounce around. Okay, if instance Spark session, and I am going to say and is instance. Get rid of that Y. File list. Is it a list? And the length of that list is it? Oh, sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place. I really have problems with this keyboard where everything is just so close together. Is greater than 0. Then function list equals, so I'm going to put these functions in a list, and the first one is going to be the CSV, and the second one is going to be JSON. Alright, so what do I want to do with that? Okay, and let's be a little bit more descriptive. So I'm going to change that to loop functions rather than make df, loop functions. Okay. And I believe we've got the file type. So here we've got the file type, and we're going to pass in file type, which we're doing already, which is fine. So within loops functions, we want to pass in Spark. I'm not sure if we're going to use this, the session just yet, but we'll pass it in. So we've got the session, the file list, and the file type. Okay. And so what we want to do we want to loop through these functions. So we've got, let's do a for loop. So we've got for f, so f is in function, for f in function list, what we want to do is pass in that function. So I've got f for f, and then okay, let's just update this here. All right, f spark So pretty much what I'm saying here, right? Here I've got the loop for f in function list, and whatever result I'm going to get, I'm going to return a list, which is why I've enclosed it in these brackets. Now, where I've defined the function, so I'm saying f in function list. So each of those items is a function. So here is the function, and then now I want to operate on that function. So within that function, I want to pass in Spark session file list, and then also file type. I don't need to really specify lambda. And then what do I need to do? I need to, number one, I need to create a filter. So if, for example, let's say, for example, I'm returning a data frame for each of these. So let's say, for example, within my file list, I've got something which doesn't meet the criteria of a CSV, but it does for JSON. So what it's going to do is going to return the data frame for JSON, but for CSV it will just return none. So what I want to do in here, I just want to specify this and say none. So I want to do a filter. So let's say filter none, and let's enclose that with brackets. And then I want to return a list after I've done that filter. So I've got two parentheses, brackets, parentheses. Okay. All right. So then what I want to do, sorry, going all over the place again. I want to return just one value. So I want to return okay, so the next thing we'll do, we'll enhance the export of our data frames. So right now, exporting our data frames pretty much looks like this, and I'm just going to completely change all of this. So for the moment, I'll just comment it out, and I'm going to introduce some logic to really enhance our data lake experience. Okay, so I'm just going to include a function. So all of this stuff over here, I'm pretty much going to put it down here. But before I do that, before I copy it, I'm just going to specify a few things. So we're going to insert a tuple. Sorry, we're going to pass a tuple. So that's called tuple df. Sorry, tuple, and we are going to return nothing. and if is instance of our tuple df a tuple, then we want to do something with it, and the length of our tuple is greater than 0. So there's going to be three things in our tuple. We're going to have the Spark itself, we're going to have the data frame, and we want to pass some settings. So before we pass the settings, we need to just also do an update to jobs. So let's just do that, and I'll just say pass for the moment. And we'll go over to jobs, and we want to make some changes here. Export result, and also we want to make some changes to transform data, which is here. Okay. Let's just comment that out, and we'll make our changes. Okay. Just put a pass there for a sec, and up here I just want to make some changes. So if I just go back down here again, so export result, we've got this path, so where we're going to save our data. I'm going to completely get rid of that. So for the moment, I'll just comment that out, and I'm totally going to get rid of this because that's a little bit ugly, to be honest. So we'll still pass in an empty dictionary, and then everything that's in our tuple, because here we've got the list that we're passing to this function, export result. We then loop through those lists, and each of those items in that list is a tuple of data. It's got a data frame, it's got our what else has it got? And our Spark session. So it's got a Spark session. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so we've got a Spark session. We have our data frame, and is there anything else? I think that's it for the moment. That's it. So, and then we also, I think we also have a table name. Is that part of it? No, I can't remember exactly what I'm passing in here. I'm definitely passing in the data frame. I'm passing in the name of the table, but I'm just going to refactor this. So, okay, let's refactor it. But before I do, let's go up to this function up here, transform data, because I want to pass in the path, and it's going to be an F string, and it's going to be project directory which is a variable, and that directory will be test delta and cells. So this is where we're going to save our data. We're getting the data from test data. We're going to save it in a new directory called test delta. Test data, test delta. Okay. And it's going to be in its parent folder called sales. Alright, so and the other thing that I can do, I can just get rid of this. Because I flipped languages, some languages are very strict in which arguments and how you pass arguments to it. So I was just kind of following that example of where I was doing this elsewhere. But I don't really need to do that because I'm declaring the variable project directory up here, and because it's outside of the function, then I can call it within the function. So that's just totally fine. And let's just be a little bit more descriptive. So I can say import data, then we've got transform data, and we just have another one for stop and close session. All right, and I think that looks okay. So we've got Spark transactions. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's go over to our function, and we'll just make a note of passing that last argument into our transform data function. And we'll call that path. And that's going to be a string. Okay. Let's get rid of that for the moment. Okay, we just want to make some changes here. So let's just copy this. Our export result. And I just want to make this a little bit more easier to see. So let's just split this onto some lines. All right, so export result is down here, and we're passing clean transformations, so let's call that clean transactions. So this is to do with transactions, so we should ideally rename that as transactions. And I think I called it transformations because I was doing everything in the same function until I split them out into different ones. So you've got clean transactions, clean customers, and clean products. All right, and within so I've got a list here which I'm passing into export result, and I'm already doing the cleaning here in this function. So then I return a data frame, which is good. And then everything is inside of a tuple, so I want to put some settings inside of that tuple. And I can get rid of that table name. And what I'm going to pass in a dictionary, and the first key of that dictionary will be format. So with format, I want to say whether it's a CSV, whether it's a JSON, Parquet, or Parquet, or Delta, right? So let's call that Delta. That's for my first key, and my second key will be the path of where I'm going to save that data to. And that path is going to be the variable path, and I could call the first one transactions. So I'm going to save the first one in a table called transactions. And then the other thing that I want to do is specify a key. Okay, and I'll explain why we need to do that in a sec. And the key that I'm going to pass is going to be customer ID for transactions. Right, I think it's probably best if I explain this little bit first before we move on. But that pretty much looks like our dictionary that we want to pass, and it will have all of our settings. So I can just pass that one variable to our method, class method, and if I wanted to expand upon that, I can. Everything that I want to do, right? Okay. So let's explain that key. And what I also need to do, I need to make that an f string for that variable. So f string for that variable. And okay, let's explain that data quickly. So where was I? Desktop, tutorial, and here we've got test data. So let's go into the data. If I just open up transactions, I'll explain the first two, customers and products. So customers, if I just open that up, we've got a key which is called customer ID. And so let's put in there customer ID. So that was for customers. For the next one, I believe the key is product ID. So let's just open up products. And here you can see product ID. I'll just open the whole thing. So we've got product ID. Okay, so what that means each product has a unique ID number or ID name. And, you know, I don't need to keep inserting that data into the Delta Lake table. So I don't want to have duplicates of that data. And then for customers, we said it was customer ID. So again, each customer has an ID, and I don't need to keep inserting, you know, duplicate data of that customer into the table. And then with transactions, let's open up one of these. So it is customer ID. So we've got customer ID, and then we've got date of purchase. But with customer ID, I do want to have multiple instances of that customer going into transactions, because, you know, I could do transactions on various dates, right? So I need to keep putting that information into the table. So the one that I want to dedupe on is going to be date of purchase. So date of purchase, that is a complete string, and I very much doubt that you could be a single customer and you could do simultaneous purchases at the same time. It might be possible if you could have a desktop, you could have a phone, and you press order at the same time, and it just happens to do it at the same time. You know, that's one way of doing it, right? But I'm going to say, okay, date of purchase, I can use that as my key. So it's not going to be customer ID, it's going to be date of purchase for transactions. That's what I want to deduplicate on. So these are the keys that I want to pass to the table. And I think that looks okay. All right, so I think that's all the information that we want to pass. And let's just go down to here to make sure. Okay, I think that's okay. So let's get rid of that. Just make that nice and clean. And we can get rid of that. And let's try that out. So we're going to pass that data over to export df. So let's go over to export df. And what I want to do with export df, I just want to pass in the information. So let's go back up to let's go back up here and just get that print. My scroll isn't working too well right now. Alright, so let's go over to this print. Just grab that, because I just want to make it coloured in the terminal. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is just make sure everything comes through as intended. So tuple df, and what I want to do, I want to call on that. So right, let's call that write export. Okay, and we'll pass in the tuple df, and we'll just run that to make sure everything is fine and there's no mistakes. Okay, so there is a mistake in job cells, so let's quickly correct that. And let's see what we've got here. So export result, line 59 requires one positional argument, which is list of df. Okay. Line 59. Oh, okay, so I am passing in a list. Export result requires one argument. Okay, here it is. So I think I can get rid of that Spark session, or should I? Yes, I can. So let's just get rid of that. And that's what our issue was. So let's just run that again. Alright, so everything is coming through fine. I've got the tuple, it's got three items, and that's going to be standard. That's going to be my standard. It's going to be 3 items: data frame, settings, and a key, right? If I'm passing in a delta table. Sorry, if I'm passing in an argument to write to a delta table. Alright, so let's split this information. Let's split this information out and label it accordingly. So let's go back to our class. And I'll just turn that off for a sec, that print. And what I want to do, the first one is going to be with the end. Oh, look at that. 0. And let's just copy these. And index 1, index 2. The second one is going to be our data frame, and the next one is going to be our dictionary settings. Okay. So I think that looks good. Just create a little bit of space here. I think that looks okay. And then what we now need to do, we now need to start putting in a load of functions. So what I'm trying to achieve here is, if I don't have the configuration for Delta Lake, then I want to avoid returning an error. So I want to be able to run my code, and I want to check whether I've got Delta Lake in my session. If I've got Delta Lake in my session, then I can write to a Delta table. If I don't put this logic in, then potentially I've got a breakage in my code. So I need to kind of tighten that up. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create, and I'll just create it up here, another function that allows me to get the session. So I'll call that open session. And I am going to return, I think it's is it a list or dictionary? It could be a list rather than a dictionary, but I'll check. So if I pass in my Spark session, this is going to be very simple. So what I want to do, oh, sorry, caps lock. What I want to do is return Spark context dot get conf brackets get all, and that's just going to return everything that I've got in my session into a list, and that way I can pass through that list looking for anything specific to Delta Lake. If I find it, then I know that my configuration is okay. If I don't find it, then I just have to, my logic just doesn't do anything with Delta Lake because it's not there. I'm asking for it, but my configuration doesn't have it. So some of you guys, you might have Delta Lake, or you might not. You might not be using it, right? So you might have decided I'm not going to do anything with Delta Lake. So if that's the case, I need to tighten my code so it works for everyone. All right, so within export, what I'll do, I'll just call on open session, and I am passing in my Spark session. So I do actually need to come up here and specify Spark session. I don't really need to be honest, but I should, and because if I call on Spark session without putting it as an argument inside of write export in this function, it will still be there because it's outside of the function, right? So it's still going to be there. But if I wanted to move this and put it somewhere else, if I wanted to put it into a different function, then it's just easier. So without having to put too much thought into it, I can just move that function, put it somewhere else into a different method, and then I can start using it. But because I've specified what my inputs and outputs are, it just makes it easier to read and to work with, you know. And that's why I do that. I'm really specific about what I carry into my functions. All right. So we're just going to do some testing here, and I'll call open session S, and let's grab this, and I just want to print out the contents of F. So I'll call that S, and I just want to check what the type is, to be honest. I can't remember whether it's going to be a list or a dictionary, so let's just print out the type. Okay, I think that might work, and I need to pass in Spark here. Oh no, sorry, I don't need to pass it in there. It's here. Sorry, yeah, I don't need to pass that in at all because everything's in my tuple. Sorry. So I've got Spark, dataframe settings, Spark. Okay, so let's see what it's going to return. Right, so it says my tuple is out of range, and why could that be? So tuple df. Okay, everything had worked. All right, so let's just double check this. All right, let's go back to that that error message. So class part 175 settings, tuple to out of range. So it's saying it's out of range. Let's just turn this off and just do some quick checks. So it's saying that let's check the length here. Let's just turn all of this off for a quick sec. And we'll just print the length. Okay. Alright, so I just want to double check the length of each one. Actually, I don't need to create, just for readability, I'll just put it over here. Alright, so I've got the length and I've got the tuple. And just be careful with my brackets. Okay, so let's run that again. So let's see what's in there. Alright, so it's saying I've got a length of 2 rather than 3. Alright. And I think that might be correct actually. Or is it? I don't think that is correct, so what else do I need to pass in there? I think I'm missing something. Feels like I'm missing something. Alright, so let's just go back. So it really should be 3 items that I'm passing through. Because I want Spark, I want the data frame, and I want the settings. So I'm only passing in 2. So let's see. So I've got the data frame, so I'm not passing in the Spark session. Okay, so let's update it to include that. Alright, now I can go back to jobs, sorry, to the class, and I can go back here, and I'm pretty sure that was the problem. So let's get rid of all of that and just rerun it. Okay, so everything is coming through here. I've got my, what have I got? So this is a list. I am returning a list. Yeah, okay, I think that's fine. So what was I asking for? Yeah, it was just the what's inside the session that I'm looking for. All right, so everything is fine. This just tells you everything I've got in my session. So now this is a list, and I can just pass through each of these looking for anything to do with Delta Lake. And then if Delta Lake is there, then my configuration is okay to do further stuff with it. All right, so I can get rid of that, and right, what else do I need to do here? All right, so the next thing I want to do, I want to I am going to create another function, because I want to try and make this as simple and neat as possible. I'll just call that validate dependency, and I'm going to create a bool. So if I loop through this session and I find something to do with Delta Lake in there, so just do a find. Delta, probably be like loads of deltas in here. So as you can see here, we've got Delta core. Just keep searching here. So yeah, there's loads of stuff here we've got here to do with Delta. So that tells us it's all configured. And if it wasn't configured, then yeah, you just wouldn't be able to find it really. So you know we wouldn't have Delta configured, so we wouldn't be able to give our application commands to do anything with Delta. All right, so I'm just going to simplify this. So right, let's pass in our dictionary, and we're going to pass it into validate dependency. And validate dependency takes a session, and I'll just call that session list. So this list, everything to do with our session here, which is this here, comes from opening the session. That's now a list. I'm going to pass that list into validate dependency and call it session list. And that needs to be a list. And what I want to do, I want to loop that session. So I'm going to create, just call that pass for a sec, create another function, and I'm going to call that loop session. So I'm going to loop through that session list. And I want to pass the session list, which is a list, and I want to pass in a pattern which I'm looking for, and that's going to be a string. Just create a pass there. So let's just gather ourselves and think about what we're trying to do here. So within the session list, I want to say within the loop session, I want to say if is instance of session list a list, and then if it is a list, then I want to do the pattern matching. Alright, so let's put a pass there for a sec, do another function, and we'll call that function match pattern. And within, I keep on jumping all over the place. And within match pattern, I want to pass in the item, because I'm going to loop through the list and I want to match each item. And I think the item is going to be a list, so it's a list of lists. And I also want to pass in the pattern, which would be a string. And I'm going to pass back a string, and the loop session will be a list. Alright, just put pass in there for a sec. Do I need to put something in there? No, okay. So put a pass in there for a sec. And the first thing we want to do, we want to pass our session list over to loop session. So loop session, and we need the session list, and we need to pass in the pattern to that. Okay, I think that's okay. And once we receive it in our function, then we want to start doing stuff with it. So, all right. So let's just do some printing. So validate dependency. So I just want to verify that it's coming through. So let's print out our session list. Okay, all right, so let's run that. Okay, we've got an error here, so line 175. Let's see what the issue is. Let's see if that gets rid of that error. So pattern is not defined, so 179 pattern, and we need to pass in pattern, and our pattern will be, what's our pattern? Our pattern is going to be the format. So we're just passing the format. So if there's anything in our configuration that just says delta, then that's good enough for me. We can be more specific than that, but I'll just pass in the format. So what I mean by that is, let's go over to jobs, and in jobs we are passing in format, so format delta. So I'm just going to use that as a pattern match. Let's go back to classes. And so I've specified pattern here, so that pattern will be let's pass in settings. All right, and then in settings, that pattern will be, so we'll do a get format. Okay, so that's what we're going to pass in. We're going to pass in format, and we're taking that from our settings dictionary, and we are passing it over here. So pattern, which will be a string. Okay. All right. So okay, I think that looks okay. Let's just run that. Make sure there's no errors. Okay, so that's fine. Everything is getting passed through our functions, okay. And so what it's passing in, you can see, yeah, it's a list. So session list is a list. So what we need to do now is validate dependency loop session. So loop session, this is now where we're going to loop through the list, and we're going to match each of the list with our pattern. So exactly what we did before when we updated our function and was looping through those functions, we're going to loop through each items in the list, and we can do that all in one line using list comprehension. So let's do a result equals for line list in session list. Okay, let's print that out. And just put this over here actually, so I'll pattern match. So we're going to print out each item, and what we want to do is put another one in here. So type item. So I just want to check whether it is a list of lists that we're passing in. And then the item itself. So let's just do that. Make sure everything is fine here. So pattern match, item, loop session, and okay. If we do anything with this, we need to pass it in to match pattern. So let's say this will be right, so I'm just going to write out the entire function. So, oh, hold on. Let's just do something quickly here. Let me print out result and see what's in it. Or what I could have done, I could have just done a no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, so I believe we're passing in a list of lists. So let's do another way to double check that. Okay, so it's still a tuple we're passing in there. Which is a list of lists. So it's like a list of tuples, I believe. I understand. Okay, so the tuple, we're gonna pass through the tuple exactly how we would a list. So let's just get rid of this, and we can get rid of that and expand upon our list comprehension. So let's start off with let's start off with another list. So since it's a list of lists, we want to say for x in a line list, alright, so what we're doing, because it's a list of lists, we're passing through session list, and then we're returning a list, or getting a list, being the item, which is a list. So I just plug in the laptop. And then we're going to pass through it again, hence why we've got this inset list here, because we need to pass through a list of lists. When I say pass, I don't mean P-A-S-S, it's P-A-R-S-E, parse, if I can say that correctly. Alright, and what we want to do, so let's print out the item at pattern match. And we are going to do this as a lambda function. So we'll say lambda x match pattern, which is the function above, and then within match pattern we then sorry, I'm just getting my parentheses. Let's get rid of that for a sec. So within match pattern we want to return whatever we try to return to it, and now we can put the x at the end. So let's just run that and make sure this is printing, so we're now correctly calling that function. So we'll just do that. Okay, so there is an issue with that. Line list, and we can get rid of that for, sorry, get rid of line list before that for. Alright, so as we pass through that tuple, I'm just going through each of those items. So here, for example, you can see delta. So we're going to do pattern match on some of these, and then, you know, if delta is in there, that means my configuration is okay. Alright, so we want to do the magic up here in match pattern. So let's match it. So let's do a match equals re search. So we're just going to search for it. So search. I'm just wondering if that is that whole thing a string. So you've got a string. Oh, okay. So yeah, I was returning type. Let's have a look. So I had type and then I had item. So it's item that we want to run through, which is going to be a string. So string, yeah. Alright, so pattern item and then let's print out match. So let's print out match, and let's see what we get. So as you can see, where delta matches, we've got a match, and anything else is none. So just bear that in mind when we do our filtering. This is what we're filtering, nones. Alright, so that works, and what we want to do, we want to return the match, but the match we want to return index 0, and match 0 if match else none. Now what this means, I'm just putting it all in one line rather than splitting it up. So I'm saying if match, I don't need to say if match equals true or false. If you just say if match, that's just saying is it true or false. If not, then whatever I return is going to be a none, right? So that's that bit, which is fine, and I can get rid of this print. So let's now print the result and rerun that. Alright, so yeah, pretty much here we have it. So we've got a list of lists. So here you can see the list for each of the items is a list, and all of that is inside of a list, why we call it list of lists. And I know that straight away because we've got two brackets. A bracket is a list, and if I've got a list enclosing another list, we call that a list of lists. And so here we've got some matches. So I've got delta, 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 and all that's doing, so this bit here, this list comprehension, is just returning my result into this variable which I've called result, and I'm printing it out. So it's kind of like doing a map, and as you can see here, without the map, this is the information that's being produced by this particular function. And as I return all of that information back to my loop session in my list comprehension, then it's neatly putting it into a list of lists. Okay, right, so now what I need to do, I need to return from my function validate dependency one thing. I just want it to be true or false. So let's modify this. So, oh, sorry, going all over the place again. Let's modify this. So let's turn this print statement off for the moment. And first of all, what I want to do, well, let's turn it back on. First thing I want to do is put in my filter. So my filter is going to be none, and for that I need a closing bracket on the end. And once I've done the filter, I need to package it up into a list. And let's run that. So what I expect is all of these nones to disappear. Okay, did they disappear? Something disappeared. So none, 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 none. And what have I got down here? None, 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 none. Okay, so something did disappear. I did clean it up a bit, but we need to clean it up a little bit more. Just get rid. Don't get rid of that. So I want to say return result first index if result then result is greater than 0 else none. Alright, so because we're returning it, I can get out of this function now, and I'll put it down down here. And within this one, so let's just run that for a sec. Name result is not defined, so result loop session result. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if that works. Okay, excellent. So it's returning exactly what we want it to return back, right? So we've got delta in our delta lake in our configuration. So for each of these, it's going to return delta. And let's clean that up a little bit. So validate dependency result return 0 result. Right, loop session return result 0 if length result is greater than 0. Okay, so it's returning something back. And what I'll do, I'll call that format found. So delta lake being our format is found, and I want to return. I want to put in some logic here. So I'll say if settings dot get format equals delta and format found is none, then we shall return false. Else we will return, oh, don't need to put the else in there, return true. Alright, so I'm going to return true, but returning true gets overridden by return false if my format is not found. So it has to return true if my format is delta and my format does not equal none. Then it will return true. If it doesn't, then return false. So now I can get out of this, come over here, and just call that result, and we can print out the result, what it is, and just sort of narrow that up a bit. Settings not defined. Why would that be then? Because I'm not passing it to it. Alright, so let's put in settings dot colon dict. Right, so we've now got the settings, passing and settings. So validate dependency, format found, pattern, pattern. Pattern, pattern. Okay, I think that might be okay. Pattern is not defined. What am I doing? Alright, so pattern, validate dependency, pattern, pattern. Okay, so where is that pattern coming from again? Okay. Oh, okay, sorry. If I just pass in settings. No, okay. Pattern. I'd call this pattern. Okay, I think that is fine. Okay, so it's returning true. It's working exactly as I would like it to. But what I want to do, I just want to do this a little bit differently here. So let's get the get format, and let's just pass in the full dict or dictionary for settings, and dict as this settings format, and then settings format. So yeah, so I just wanted to clean that up a little bit, and it should return the same result. Let's run that. Okay, so that's our code working just fine. Now I want to put a little bit more logic in here. So now I am returning true or false. I know what I can do, right? I know how far I can go with my data, exporting my data. So let's just put a little bit more logic in here, and it's going to be if validate dependency equals true and is instance yeah, jumping around like that really is annoying. Is instance of the data frame then I want to start doing stuff. So, and the next thing is going to be if settings, so let's just get this, format equals delta, oh sorry, no, all over the place again. Okay, if it equals delta, then I want to do something here. So I want to call on a function. So my function, I'm going to create another function, export delta, right? So I haven't created this function yet. And within that, I want to pass in Spark, and I want to pass in the data frame and settings. And if it's not delta, then I want to do else df write. So I just, there's nothing else I need to do with it if it's not delta. So if I'm asking for it to be written as a JSON file, CSV, Excel, whatever, then I can just start writing that. But if it's a delta table, sorry, if the format specified is delta, then I want to throw all of that into a new function or method completely to do with delta. So that's the whole purpose of all of this stuff here. It's quite a bit, but it was necessary. All right, so it's going to be data frame. We're going to write the data frame, and the format settings dot get dot format. And as you can see here, if I just go back up to the original code that we had, so I had hard coded that as delta, right? So I'm no longer going to hard code that. So let's just get all of this. And I can overwrite that and save it in my path, wherever I've specified that path to be. Okay. And yeah, so I think that looks okay. We can get rid of that. Okay. I'm not going to create a function inside of this method. I'm going to start doing it outside. So I can just copy this line here. Alright, so I will call that export delta, and I want to pass in, because I'm passing in all of that stuff, so where is it? All of that stuff, which is this. And that is a Spark session. that is a data frame, and that is a dictionary. And because I'm exporting, I'm not returning anything back. Sorry. Let's create some space here. So let's grab this, put it down here, and let's just make sure it's coming through, which it will come through, but you know, we just want to do it in the right way. So df, let's just print the data frame. And because this is outside of my method, I want to call this method, and that will be Spark class and self.config and what that method is. So that method is going to be export delta. Alright then. Okay, so what I expect to happen when I run this code, then I'm going to get the data frame on export delta. So, alright, let's just call that export delta. So we know exactly where we are when we run this code. That's why I do print statements, just to know exactly where I am in my code. So export delta is not found. Export delta. What have I done here? There's always something that I've done which I can't pick up on. Alright, Spark class, which is fine. Self.config.export delta. So run that again. I'm sure it's the same thing is going to happen. Oh, I see. Okay, I see what the error is. Let's just stop that for a sec. It's down here. Okay, now we can run it. Alright, so yeah, so we're in the right place. Export delta, all of that's fine. Alright, so just get rid of that. So yeah, I think all of that logic is okay. So you can also get rid of this. So there's quite a bit going on here, but I had to do it. I had to do all of that before I do anything over here, because if I don't have it in my configuration, if you don't have if you don't have Delta Lake in your configuration, then it's just going to cause an error if you try and write. And that's why I wanted to catch that before anything else happens. Alright, so when I export the data, there's still quite a bit that I want to do. So for the sake of chapters in this video, I'm going to say end of this chapter, and we will start doing the new chapter, which is export delta. Hello. Alright, so it's the next day, and I decided yesterday to call it quits and give myself a bit of a break. I'm now going to work on the Delta Lake aspect of things. So yesterday, if I just get this in front of me, by the way, so where are we? As I'm talking, I'll get everything in front of me, so it makes it easier. We'll go to jobs. Well, actually, I'll just dump this entire folder. Alright, so we're going to go into jobs, into classes, and we'll just pick up from where we were yesterday. So, right. So the last thing which I did yesterday was, really it was this bit. I included this beginning of a function or method, which was to export delta. And so just above it, I've got export df. df meaning data frame, and so we send our data frame here, and depending on what we set in format, so we've got like a dictionary of settings that I send from the jobs sales file, and then I can specify what format I want to save it as, whether it's delta, whether it's CSV, whatever it might be. And then I could also include other settings within my dictionary, which I can just sort of siphon out and use within my functions, within my logic, however I see fit. All right, so the whole purpose of having this function, this entire method, is because what we want to do is it's like a place where we receive the data frame and then we decide on what to do with it, right? So what we've got in our settings, what type format we've specified. So that took a little while yesterday, and this one today may take a little while as well, because it's it's going to be a lot of code. And so now here we are, right? So export delta, and now what we want to do, right? Because we had sent the instructions to create a delta table from here, then once we receive it, there's various things we can do with that table. We might want to just create a new table, populate it. We may just want to put in new records into an existing table, or we might want to just append the data regardless if it's in there or not, with an existing table. So these are the things that we need to factor in. So that's why I break the code up. So rather than doing one fluid kind of massive block of code, you want to break it up as much as possible. And this is a good example of functional coding. Trying to think of the word now. OOP. Object-orientated programming, right? So object-orientated programming in addition to functional programming. I mean, for me, functional programming, functions, which is pretty much loads of these small little things, are absolutely necessary in your code, right? Absolutely 100% necessary. An additional layer on top of that is object-orientated programming, which is this complete file where we are just simply organizing our code into classifications, right? That's all it is. You don't really need to have object-orientated programming. You can just use functions if you wanted to, and if you didn't want to use functions, you could use procedural, right? But I'm using a mix of functional and object-orientated programming, and the object-orientated programming part just helps me to organize my code even more. So, by creating classes, by creating these methods within the classes, and then within the methods, you've got loads of functions going on. It just helps. It helps with readability. So I'm going on a bit now. I should start coding, but it helps with readability. It helps with just everything. It just makes you a much easier. It just makes coding easier, and you just become a much better coder. And I learned the hard way a long time ago. I'm really rambling on into an area where I don't need to go now, so I'll start coding. All right. So here we are now, export delta, right? So everything is working okay. We're receiving the data, right? So the first function I want to do, I want to be able to check whether the table path, because when we talk about delta tables and delta lakes, we're talking about paths, right? So your path is kind of like your database and table, right? Depending how you structure your folders, right? So you can have databases and tables and collections and stuff like that. So yeah, what I need. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So what I need to do, I need to receive the instructions into export delta, and then I need to create a function. I'm going to create a function which kind of looks into whether the table exists or not, the path exists, and then we're going to do something with it, right? So if the path if the path doesn't exist, we'll create a new path, which means we're creating a new table, and then we just put the data in it, no problem, right? And then if it already exists, then what do we do if it already exists? So we need to have some logic in there to do that. All right, so let's start. I am going to create a function called table exist, and with table exist I'm going to pass in all my data, so Spark session, the data frame itself, and the settings that I'm sending with it. And then I need to create a function which is called table exist, and let's just grab this. And this is what I want to pass into it. Okay. All right then. And oh, sorry if I made some noise just then. Yeah, sorry, I just pushed the mic a bit. And then I'm not returning anything from this table. Then to find out if the table exists, there is a function within Delta Lake that allows you to do that, and I'll show you what that is. So I'm just going to type it out. So it just returns a true or false. That's all it does. So I'm going to say Delta table, and sorry, there's just one more thing that I want to do, right, before I carry on. And let's just pause that for a bit, and I'm going to go to the top, and at the top I want to find my Delta Lake. Okay, so here it is here. There's my Delta Lake. Okay, so I want to move my Delta Lake. So I'm doing this for the sake of anyone which I'm doing this for the sake of anyone which hasn't got Delta Lake configured. So let's get it out of there, and we're going to put it over here in the builder. So if we're going to import that library, then we need to have it configured. So not everyone who's watching this is going to have it configured, and so if you don't have it configured, then I don't want to sort of do it import at the top of the script, because that will throw an error that you don't have the library. So that's why I'm going to place it over here. Now when I come down here to managing my Delta Lake tables, then there's also another one which I want to import, and it's going to be from Delta import Delta table. Okay, so now the script is safe, like the code is safe, because if you try and do anything with Delta tables and you don't have the libraries, pip libraries installed, then it's not going to throw an error. It just can't do anything. So that Delta table is basically this here, so this attribute here, and then we can continue with our code. So right, so in table exist, I am going to use the function Delta table is Delta table, and then I want to provide my session, and then I also need to provide a path. So as you can remember, just stop that for a sec, and let's go over to sales. Oh, there we go. So as you can remember, when we send that data, I have included what is called a path. And so path is just pretty much going to be, you know, the location, the path directory for that data, right? Okay, so that path could either exist or it doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, then we need to create a table. If it does exist, then the table already exists, right? So that's pretty much what it does. And that's what I like about data lakes in general. It's just the simplicity of having directories. It's just a lot easier to kind of get your head around rather than sort of databases and how they operate as black boxes, and you can't see anything. And if anything locks and goes bad, you can lose your whole database sometimes, you know. So this is the beauty of doing it differently now. Alright, so where are we? So we need to include the path. Now the path, as I've just shown you, is in settings. So settings dot get and then path, and that's it. So that's my path. And then what I want to do, I want to say false. So what this bit does here, it checks to see whether your path exists. So you've got your session, you've got your path, and then this function, delta table function, just really checks to see whether it exists, and then it returns true or false. If it returns false, then it doesn't exist and we need to do something. So let's just give that a quick try. So if I just grab that. So I'm going to say over here, let's get this. And I'm going to say does not exist, right? And then I'll do an else, and I'll say exist. Alright, so I'll just make that one capital. Right, so let's run that code and let's see what happens. So let's get the path to that code, or just throw it in. Alright, so I think I missed the N off there. So none of them exist, none of these tables exist, because I've created a new path, right? Nothing is in my temp. So those old delta tables I had, like, you know, they're gone. So the place where I'm trying to save this data to now is going to be here. So it should be a new folder which crops up, called test-delta, and inside that directory I'm going to have all of my data. So nothing exists, that path doesn't exist, so that's why I'm getting that up, so that's good. So this function is now working absolutely fine. Alright, so the next thing we want to do now is we need to create some functions. So let's just comment that out, and I'm going to create a function which is, I'm going to call this table new, and inside of that table new I will send all of this information, and then, oh, sorry, and then if the table already exists, then I want to do a table merge. And merge means I want to add data to data that already exists. Yeah. So I'm going to send the same information. So this function, table exists, just really is my receiving sort of first initial function that tells me what I need to do with the data, depending on whether the data exists and some of the other settings which I have. So let's create these functions. So here we have, I'll just grab the whole thing, I guess. Alright, so the first one is going to be table new, and the next one is going to be table merge. So these two functions up here, so table new, table merge, table new, table merge, right? Alright, so I'm still not going to return anything from any of these tables because they're just going to create stuff, right? So, so for the first one, right, what we want to do, so I keep on saying right all the time. Sorry if I keep on doing that. I'll try and not say right every minute. So, alright, so for table new, that's the first thing that we're going to do because these tables don't exist, and what we want to do is create them, right? So I just said it again. Alright. Alright, so let's give that a name. Create a new table. And the next one is going to be just give these sort of descriptions so that we know. What I find is that if you don't comment your code and if you don't describe what functions are doing, as you write them, you know exactly what's going on, right? But in about 3-4 months, you can completely forget what you've done, and then you can't remember what's going on or why you did something. You could do something bizarre, but you do something bizarre for a valid reason. Sometimes you can forget that valid reason, and then you completely confuse yourself why you did it bizarre. So that's why I always add comments and descriptions. When we go onto GitHub, when you see the code on GitHub, it will be fully cleaned up and described. Alright, so this one merges data with existing table. Okay. And I'll just say avoid duplicates. So we're going to be these sort of descriptions tell us why, because there's another one. There's another function which is which is append data to table. So if you've got table merge and you've got append, right? Then there's so much that you have to remember in this world that you could forget why you've got merge and append. So if you just have simple descriptions, then it just makes it easier. Okay. So, and here's my OCD kicking in, where I have to make it clean, take away that extra space. All right. So let's come over here. And I'm just going to put some. I'm going to print to the terminal so that we always know exactly what's going on. We can get rid of all of these print statements, because I know if you're working in a production environment, they really hate anyone including this sort of stuff in their code. Alright, so we're just going to call it its table name. So table new, and this? Table merge. Alright, so as we run this code, we're going to know exactly where we are, right? Get rid of that. And we know exactly what the path is as well. So that just helps us. We can always comment these print statements out later. Alright, so for the first one, sorry, I'm going over to merge. Should be over here. Table new. Now I'm sure I wrote this code somewhere else. I don't know where I may have put it. Let's go have a look up here. I'm sure I wrote this code somewhere else. Let's do a quick search. What am I looking for? I'm looking for, let's look for overwrite. Oh, okay, so it's, oh, no, hold on. Yeah, okay, yeah, because I was doing it in a very simple way. Okay, I just totally forgot. Okay, now we're doing it in a different way. Sorry, just ignore what I just did just then. Alright, so let's write this code out. So it's going to be our data frame, which is this one here, and it's going to be write format delta, and let's create some end of line breaks, and the mode is going to be overwrite, and then we're going to include an option which will be, oh sorry, keys being close together, make them go all over the place. Option will be overwrite schema, true, and then dot save, and where we're saving to will be our path, so I can just copy that, the settings path. Alright, I think we're looking good here. Alright, so I think we can run this code, to be honest. So let's just do that. Let's run it. And what I expect this block of code to run, table new, and the table to be created here. So let's see if that happens. Let's see if our code is working. And it is working. So we've got 3 of them, transactions, customers, products, and let's just give it a sec for that to occur. There, okay. So let's take a look at our data. So I'm putting it in cells. So we've got transactions, and for some reason, oh, okay, all right, something's happened here. So I've got table merge. Oh, okay, no, all right. It is just transactions, right? So it is just transactions that we're running, because I think I blocked out everything else. So, sorry, this is me rambling to myself. Sorry, let me check, and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so if I go to cells, now, what I normally do when I do transform data, I just do one test, which is this one, but I am actually running all 3. So, and the reason why it didn't work as expected, I only got one table, which was transactions, is because of this mistake here, where I've got transactions for all 3 of them. So this one should be customers, that one should be products. I can't remember if I was calling that customers or customer. Let's go over to GitHub and let's just check. the last version. I was calling it customers. So I had a table which was called customers. Yeah, customers. All right. So I'll continue doing the same thing. All right, customers. And then we've got products. All right. Now let's run that again. I'm just going to get rid of this. Get rid of that folder. And start it again. So I expect all of this to be different paths, and we can get all of our data. Alright, so that's worked as expected. Alright, just give that a sec to finish. And we've got sales, and we've got customers, we've got products, and we've got transactions. Alright then, so that's a good one. Alright, now, so our table exists, right? So what will happen if I run this code again, right? So let's take a look if I run it again. Because it should now go over to the next function, which is, let's go over to our class. It should now go over to the next function, which is table merge, because it's going to see the path exists, so it's now going to run that function. So let's take a look. Yeah, so we've got table merge. Nothing's happening with it because we're just doing a print statement here. That's all we're doing. All right, so with the table already existing, then it's going to be a matter of merging it or appending it. Appending it, I'll come back to that, but merge is the one that I'll focus on right now. All right, so now, to do a table merge, right, let me just go back to my data again, to sales. And I'll just show you the next thing. So within my settings, we've got past format delta, so we're in the right place. Path, we're using paths, that's totally fine. And then we've got the other one, which is key, right? So to do a table merge, you have to specify a key. So a key is like just a unique key. What key do you want to match on, right? So if that key exists, then we don't do a match. Sorry, then the data's already in there, and then you don't put it in there. If the key doesn't exist and the data's not in there, you want to put it in there. That's what the key does, right? That's all it is. So let's go over to our classes. And the first thing which I'm going to do, I'm going to put some logic in there, because if you haven't got a key, then I want to bounce you out. And to do that, all I'm going to say is equals none. So, oh, sorry, not path, key. So if key equals none, then I'm going to bounce you out. Now, the value will default to none if key is not key is not present. If that key, basically a key, right? That's what it is in a dictionary. It's called a key, and I'm calling it key, right? As a name of that key. So by using get, if key is not there, then it will just give you none. So if it is none, then I don't have key, and I need to put a key in there. That's what it is. So let's do arrays. So I will say, let me just pull up an error. And I'll call that value error. And I'll say provide a key in your settings dict to merge tables, right? So if you've forgotten to add a key, then it's just going to raise that error and say, look, you didn't provide a key, you're going to have to provide one. So that's why I put that in there. Then I'm going to say if delta let's just grab this. Oh god, here we go. Right, so I'm going to do the complete. Oh, sorry, I'm all over the place. Sorry about this. I'm going to do exact opposite of what I've done over here. So where I've got this thing over here, I'm going to say true. If it does exist, then this is what we want to do. I don't really need to put this here because I've kind of done it here in table exist. I've done it there in table exist, but I'm putting it here, right? Just in case for any reason I'm running a test and I want to bypass this and I want to go straight to this method here. I want to go straight to this one here, right? So that's why I've done. That's why I've done that. I'm going to put it in here as well. So it's just like another extra safety for this bit. Now, what I want to do, there's a couple of things I want to do in here. So in my settings, so we've got Spark SQL settings, and in my settings, I want to set something. I want to say set. Oh, this is a string. Set Spark dot data bricks dot delta dot schema dot auto merge dot enabled dot equals true. And there's another one I want to do, which is resolve merge update struct by name. Now what this does, this just really kind of minimizes the errors that I get, because it can be quite fussy. So that's not the right word. Not fussy. How can code be fussy? It's not a person, but you know what I'm talking about. It can get fussy. It doesn't want you to do certain things, and if you do certain things and you're going against the rules, then it will throw an error. So this helps you to get through those errors. I will run it to see what those errors are. I'll just quickly write this. And I need to double check because I always make spelling mistakes. So we've got set spark dot databricks dot delta dot schema dot auto merge dot enabled equals true. Then we've got databricks delta resolve merge update struct by name dot enabled. Now this just really is all about your schema, because you're it makes the schema more fluid, right? Because there's still going to be a schema attached to your Delta Lake, so you just want to make it a lot more fluid. So if you do something that's against the schema, then it's going to throw an error, and this minimizes your errors. Alright, so the next bit I'm going to do is let's put a debug in there. So debug session. This is another function which I'm going to write, by the way. And up here, I'll call that def debug session. Oh, sorry. Session. Okay. All right. So let's do a debug of our session. And I'm just going to go out to the top of this script and get stuff that I've already written already. So where have I done a debug already? I think I did one here. Let's get that. Alright, so let's call this debug session. Alright, so what do I want to pass into debug session? I just want to pass the Spark session into it. Wrong place. And I want to pass in the Spark version, the Spark context, get rid of this, and Spark class self, debug create file, paths, config, and over here, just make a change. So let's call this. So put it in the same path. Do that as an F string. And we'll call that export delta.json. So should we quickly run that and see what happens? Okay, let's quickly run that. Let's see what we get. Alright, so. Oh, but am I calling it though? Yes, I am. So debug session. Debug session. Right, let's run that. See what we get. Just take another look at that. Okay. So if we ever want to do some debugging, then it just makes it easier. Should be in there already, I think. No, not yet. So we've got our general Spark session, and then we're going to have our Delta session. It's going to be the same really as a Spark session, but it's just Delta stuff in there. Config paths not defined. Not defined. Okay. So let's go up here. So that was self. I'm cheating here, by the way, so I should really pass, instead of passing it as self, I should pass it in here, up there, but I'm not doing that. So I'm just going to quickly do it this way. It's a bit of a cheat, because I keep on saying what I should do, I should pass anything into my function as an argument, but I'm relying on it outside of the argument because it's self, and when it's self, then you can pass it anywhere within your your class, anywhere within your class and any method within your class. Just makes it easier itself. But for this reason, I'm just going to quickly do it like this, just to get around this error quickly, and then I can neaten it up later. Let's keep an eye on that folder, shall we? Right, so the difference with this one, right, is it's going to be it's the same session information, right? But because we've done some changes to our session here, like create some settings here, then if for any reason we're debugging and we want to find out what's in our session, because we are importing delta table there, doing some settings here, so you want to sort of like debug and check, then we've always got this which is open to us. So you're gonna find everything that you've got here, right? So that's why I've done that. Okay, so back over here, then what we'll do is we're now going to go back to that whole key thing. So dataframe, being our dataframe here. Sorry, dataframe. DT. Right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get the table. So delta table for path, then Spark, which is our session, and then settings path. So what we've done, we've got our table. So we've indicated the path. We've got our table. It's now in the variable dt, and we can start doing stuff with dt. So with dt, I want to merge my table. So this is the code that I'm going to write. So alias t dot merge and then df, which is our data frame up here, alias, just call that s, do an f string, t, let's grab this, settings, key equals s. Right, I'm just going to type this out and I'll explain what it's doing in a sec. Nope. I'm going to do that. There we go. Now, the reason why I'm doing it like this, I could just done it in one line, but I like to see things like, I like to read things and not struggle to kind of like make out what's happening, and that's why we do indenting and line breaks and all that kind of stuff. When you've just got code like in one line, and it's really hard to read. I don't know, if you've ever tried to read JavaScript, like the way it's all condensed into one line, it's just hard to read. Execute. All right. So I'll explain what's going on here. So right, so if I've got a key present, then if I don't have a key present, then it's going to raise an error. I'm now looking for the path. If the path exists, then I can merge data into it. As I come to this bit, I'm just modifying my settings, so that way I can get over some of the errors that may occur. Then I'm over here, I'm just debugging my session, creating this file, export delta. That just helps me. It's not necessary, but it just helps me to debug a lot later if I need to. Then what I'm doing, I'm getting the table by specifying a path using delta table's function for path. It's now set in this variable. With this variable, I'm giving it an alias called t. Then I'm doing a merge with my data frame into this table, where I give the data frame the alias s. And then over here, this is like a SQL statement where you've got for the alias table t and alias table s. What I want you to do is merge the data, based on this key. My key, if you remember, in my sales, I gave it a key, which was product ID, customer ID, or date of purchase, right? So date of purchase for transactions, customer ID for customers, and product ID for product. So if that key is not in the table, delta table, then I will put the data into it. So this is what this one says. When not matched, insert or, and then execute is just do it. Right, so let's see what happens. Oh, and the other thing that I want to do is I want to create some versions. So this is just really to show us what's going on. So it really is important for me to put this bit in as well before I run the code. So I'm going to call this table. Table history, and with table history, I'm gonna use the same stuff here. And it's going to be the same thing where I need to get the table. So let's get the table, whether it's true or not. So the path has to exist, and if the path does exist, then the same thing here. Which where is it? Table merge. I'm going to get the path. So I need to get dt. And then with dt, I am going to just show the history. So I'm not going to return anything. I'm just going to show, sorry, it is history dot show. Alright, so I'm not going to return anything. I'm just going to use this function just to print to the terminal the history of the table, which I've got. So what I'll do, where shall I put that? I'm just thinking about where I should put that. I'm going to put it down here. History. Okay. And we'll just go back up here. Just double check everything looks okay. Yep. All right. So yeah. So that will give us something in our terminal to look at and help us. It's always good to know where you are, like in the terminal, debug files, logs, whatever. You know, everyone's got their own way of doing it. So, okay, we've got some errors here. It says unexpected indent, line 233. So let's sort that out, then, shall we? So, I didn't do a line break here. Let's run that. Let's plug my laptop in. Need the juice. Alright, so we're now in the section table merge, in the function table merge. So that's why I do all of that sort of stuff. Color the text so I know exactly where I am. Oh, there we go. Get rid of that. Alright then. Okay, so it's doing it. So what this means over here, let's just open it up a bit. Alright, so what this means, this means for each of these tables, right, we have an initial version, and that initial version was to write data to that table. So we've got mode overwrite, and then the next version of the table we had the operation merge, operation parameters which are predicate. And so yeah, so everything looks good with our code. So the merge code is working correctly. I mean, there wasn't really any new data to put in there, so you're not really going to, no new data went in there. But every time you run this operation on merge, it's going to give you a new version. And as long as you don't get any errors, you just get like a new insertion of a row in your version to see, to tell you exactly where you are. What I'm going to do, I'm going to delete the table so that way we can see it just slightly differently. So let's get rid of the whole thing again, and let's start again with new, because I want to show you this version, so what it looks like. So we'll run that again. Alright, so we're only doing a new insertion, so we're newly creating a table and putting data into it. So here we've only got one version of that table of where we've just newly done that, right? So that's going to be the write operation. The mode is going to be overwrite. Alright, so we're going to run that code again. So what happens when we run it, because the table already exists, then it's going to jump straight to our merge function rather than creating a new one. So we'll run that again, and now we'll take another look at those versions as we did before. So I just want to be really clear about those versions and what that information can tell us, because it's really good as we write our code, do our development, by using versions, printing it to the terminal or even printing it to a file. That gives us a good clear indication of exactly where we are and if things are working. And before that finishes, let's just go into the data. So there's something I want to show you, right? So we've only got one file for customers, and another one should appear. So yeah, so there you've got another one that just appeared. So remember, we just had one file for customers, one file for products, and 3 files for transactions. Now what you're going to see a double up on those files, because what it does, it's actually creating new versions. And within your log, what you've got these files, and these are your meta files, where it's telling you all the information about the tables. So each time I run one of those, you're going to get a new meta file. So let's do that again. which is going to relate to the most latest version. So every time you run that merge, you're going to get a new version. So even if you don't have data going inside of it, it's still going to create a new version. And then you're probably thinking, oh, but I've got all of these files, and so it's going to look really untidy and unmanageable. Well, it's manageable because it's all manageable from within this file. But in terms of space, you're probably thinking, I'm going to get these loads and loads of files. Right, and this is a good indication as to why they say to you, don't use small files, because small files can rapidly expand. Just use big data, just use large files of data. Because it just creates multiple versions of files. But it's required for your versioning. So here we go. Each time I run these, you're going to get like a new version, and then let customers finish. And then you're going to get a new one of these, right? So there is a way to get rid of that, to get rid of all of these versions. So that's just going to keep on creating new versions each time I run this code on merge. There is a way to get rid of it, and I'm going to introduce something which is called vacuum. Now we won't see this code run, but I'm just going to put it in there. Table vacuum. So I'm going to create a new function. Let's just copy that and call that vacuum. Alright, and what vacuum does, as the name implies, it's just going to clean up your data. So let's give you a description here. Remove previous table versions. Let's give a description on the history as well. So that would be return information on table version. Alright, so for vacuum it's going to be exactly the same thing, but over here we will just say vacuum, and I'll put a value in here, so I'll put 168, and I think 168 means days, right? So when you run this code, it's just basically clean up all of the previous versions from up to 168 days. 168 days is the default, so you can I think you can make that smaller or larger. Definitely larger. You can say, look, I want way more time before I do any vacuuming, cleaning up on my versions. I'm not sure how low it can go, or if it can go lower than 168. I'm not sure. But I don't really need to run that just now, but that's what you'll do. That's why you've got these different versions indicated here, these additional files. You've got the meta files, transactions, that will just keep on multiplying, right? Okay, so right, what do we need to do next? So that's that bit, and I'll just comment this bit out. But yeah, if you want to do some cleaning up, that's how you do it. I'm just thinking if there's anything I've forgotten in this, so I think we're okay. So that really, okay, I'm going to conclude this part of this section, and then we'll get onto some new different stuff after this. So this will conclude this bit. All right, guys. So yeah, see you in the next one. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to show you how we load the tables, the delta tables, back into our code. Typically, I wouldn't really do that in the same ETL job, which is sales. I'll probably create a new job, and I'll probably call that load data or something. But within this script, I just want to provide that indication, so that way you can expand upon how you want to go about doing things, right? So I'm just giving you the guidance on doing it. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go over to sales. And in sales, I want to just modify what we do next. So here we've got transform data, and I'll just include some comments here. So I'll say export data, and so I'll just say wrap export, wrap the export result function around the transform function. So that's just, that comment is just to remind you, look, there's two functions going on here. We've got this one here, which is cleaning the data, and this one here, which is exporting the data. So yeah, just a little, because as I say, as you write stuff and you start putting functions within functions, it just gets a little bit hard to read. So it's good to have little comments. So here I'm going to have, let's do load tables. So here we're exporting the tables, and we're going to load the tables. We wouldn't really want to do this in the same scripts. We want to sort of isolate things and do it differently. So I'm going to have a function called load delta tables, and let's create the function down here. And what I want to do, I want to just send a list of paths, because what I want to do, I want to load data back in. I'm just sending the paths, and that's going to be a list, and we'll return a list. So sorry, for the moment we'll just say I'm just going to get that print thing. Over here. Okay. And we'll print out those list of paths. Okay. Now we want to create the list of paths. So let's expand this, separate it out, and we're going to have a list of tuples. So Spark, and then we're going to have an F string, which will be the path, and the first one will be transactions, and call this a delta table. So all what I'm doing here is just really my own way of doing things. You might have your own way of doing things, which is fine. But this just gives you guidance on how people do stuff, really. Customers, products. Okay. Load tables. Okay. Right. Right. So let's get this information back, shall we? So what I have to do, I have to load that data. So this function is going to load that data, and I want to do that as a lambda. So I'm just going to copy this. I can really just comment that print thing out for the moment. And same sort of information, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to load these tables. So I'm going to create a method called load tables in my classes, and then here you see I've got these three values. So I've got the session, I've got the path, and I've got the format, which is going to be delta. So just go back down here, and I'm going to split this tuple up, and just instead of sending a whole tuple, I'm just going to send in the individual values. So the first index is going to be 0, then the next one is going to be 1, then the next one is going to be 2. And that's coming from list of paths rather than list of df. Okay. Alright, I think that looks okay. So all I need to do now is just go into my class, and I need to include this method. Now I'm going to put it up here because I like to have some sort of logic with my code. So export df. I'm just going to put it up here next to tables. So I've got create temp tables, and I've got load temp tables. Sorry, load delta tables. Or I can just call that tables, to be honest with you. Yeah, just call that tables for now. Oh, okay, yeah, load tables. I've had it as load tables down here. All right. All right. So where were we? All right. So let's see what information we get back. Let's grab a print statement. And we'll just print out a list of paths. Alright, so let's give that a go, shall we? Hopefully I'll write some tests next time, and I'll introduce tests because there's no point in sitting here waiting for all of this to be done. Just takes a bit too long, doesn't it? So I can shorten this up, narrow this up a bit, and just write some tests for the specific things that I need to do. So load delta tables takes one position argument 3 were given on sales.py. So let's go to sales.py. Oh, I can see another mistake here actually, so this needs to have self in it. And then let's go to sales. And look at that error message. So it's saying something about load delta tables. Load delta tables. And that's not a list. there. Alright, so let's run that again. I didn't put any breaks on there. Okay. And I can see a mistake. Yeah, that looks better. I wonder if that works or not. Let's just stop that and run it again. Easier way. Just go back over to my class script where we were. Okay, load tables, 2 positional arguments, but 4 were given. Alright, so line 107. 107, okay, so okay, that's incorrect, so what should it be? That should be Spark session path, which is a string, and format, I'll just call that FMT as a string. Okay, so this is the data that we're sending, so let's get, instead of a list of paths, we just get paths, path. Okay, so what that is, what's happening here is in cells. Remember, I'm not sending the list. I'm actually breaking it up. So I've got the first index, which is the session. The second one is the path, and the next one is going to be the format. So pretty much what you see up here. So 1, 2, 3. So that's why I got that error. So let's do that again. Oh, it's a bit of a mistake up here. Where are we? Where are we? Where are you? There. Should be a comma instead of a colon. You know, I've just had a thought as well. With these videos that we make, like in about 100 years from now, it's quite possible that these videos will still exist. I don't know if YouTube will still exist, but you know, the archive of all of these YouTube videos may exist. And in 100 years from now, someone could actually be watching this video, listening to my words right now, wondering what it was like for us 100 years ago. Imagine that. Someone following this tutorial, listening to everything I'm saying 100 years from now. Alright, so this is exactly what I needed. So here we have the path, everything is working correctly. We can comment this out. And let's go ahead and load our tables. So what this is going to load, this is going to load either a Parquet or a table, or load tables from Parquet data. So it could be just straightforward raw Parquet, or it could be delta Parquet. So I'm just going to put a comment in there which is load Parquet or delta tables. Okay, and we'll have a clause which is if os path dot exists path df equals, so we're going to create a data frame from that path. Read dot format fmt, and then option merge schema true, and then we're going to load the data from the path provided. Now the reason why I have used os path exist rather than what we were doing down here, which is where is it again? Which is this one. So where was it? Yeah, this one here. So instead of using this function delta table path is table, check and see whether it exists, instead of using that is because I could have a path which doesn't have any delta. It's nothing to do with delta, it's just a list of Parquet files. So that's why I've done that. I've done it in that particular way. Right, it's just by using os path exists. So it's going to check if it exists. If it exists, then it's going to run this code, and it's going to we're going to populate df variable, which is going to be the data frame. It's going to load the data. The format is going to be delta, so it can either be delta, it could be Parquet. An option is going to be merge schema, and if schemas are different, it's just going to merge them, and then it's going to load the data and it's going to return it. So yeah, that's that. So let's give that a try. And over here, oops, sorry, not over there, in our sales, I'll just come down here. And let's get rid of this. I could do a return there. And let's go up to our transform. Now what we want to do, we want to create temp tables. So all of this code up here, where we were creating temp tables, we just want to modify that just a little bit. So what we're going to do up here is I'm going to create a zip of the table. So I've got the tables, right? I've got the tables. All of my code works. I've got the tables. So let's just print out the contents first. So let's print out the content of L. I've just put it in a variable called L. So let's give that a shot. I'm just going to go back over to here, and I'm just see if I've got any print statements. Because if I've got print statements, I want to get rid of them because that would just sort of confused where I am. Okay, so yeah, let's get rid of it. I mean, I had it commented out, but I just got rid of it anyway. Alright, so the only printing I should see should be from here. So let's do that. Let's get rid of that equal sign, so you can't have that. Yeah, so as I was saying about like 100 years from now, yeah, it's a crazy thought. Because the difference now is that, you know, if you ever watch those videos of, like, you know, videos that were made sort of early part of the century, 20th century, right? So the year 19 whatever, or end of the 19th century being like 18 whatever, right? And if you watch those videos, we ask ourselves questions about who are these people? Like, what were their daily lives like? You know, did they laugh and smile like we do? Did they have the same thoughts, the same ambitions? You know, just general same kind of lives that we live? Like, are they the same people as us? Are they extremely different? I wish they could speak. I wish we could know more. I wish we could see way more about their lives. But the difference now in 100 years is that when people watch things like YouTube and watch all of these archives that we've created, like, they will know exactly who we are 100 years from now, or even later, you know. And that's what's remarkable about the times we live in right now. All right, so let's get back to this. So it's loaded the tables totally fine. So yeah, that's what I was looking for. And let's do some more modifications. So the next step I need to do is put it over here. I just need to do a zip of these tables. Now this is what I'm going to call list of df equals list. And okay, so what I'm doing here, right, because I want to create these temp tables, I need to give them a name, right? So I've just got the data frame, so I can't just pass in a data frame without a name. So this is what I'm doing. I'm zipping a name. I'm gonna have two lists, and I'm gonna merge those two lists, zipping them together. So I'm not concatenating the lists. I'm just pushing them together, and the data frame, the first index data frame, will have the first index table name that I give it. So it's just going to be a simple zip, and L, which is this one up here, variable here, L, which is a list. I'm going to zip it with these names: transactions, customers, and products. Alright, so yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I always like to create a little bit of space so I can see stuff. Alright, so that's what I'm doing. So now that I've done that, it's going to be merged together. So let's print out list of df. Yeah, just going back to my thoughts. Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting, and the thing with technology as well is that it's just so rapidly gathering pace. Ever since you know, we've been online, and we've got this like abundance of data, and then we've got you know, AI coming into the mix, deep learning coming into the mix. So rapidly we're going to see innovations, new innovations. All right. Okay, let that run, let that finish. Yeah, and I promise I will do some tests next time, so that way we're not running the whole thing. We'll just minimize it to exactly what we need to see. We'll run some tests for that. But just to get through this bit, everything is going to be done. Everything is going to be complete, and then we can start doing some sort of like more sort of like fine-grained stuff. But yeah, just get past this. So yeah, everything is okay. So as you can see here, the first data frame, customer string, and then you've got data frame. So here you've got a tuple, and it's merged it with transactions, and the X1 is customers and the X1 is products. So that's what I wanted to do. Alright, so I think we can now come out of this bit, and yeah, just create some tables really. So let's go over here and we can get rid of this, and we've still got create temp tables, which is over here. So we're just going to run create temp tables. Alright, so create temp tables. We need to pass in Spark and list of df data frames. And to validate that, we're just going to do a df equals spark.sql, and we'll just query one table. So it will be select all from transactions. Okay, so because we've created a temp table name here and zipped it, combined those two lists by zipping them, then it's given me, so the first table is called transactions. So in memory, I can just call on with this SQL statement, just give it to me from transactions, right? So that's the beauty of doing it there. Now I want to show that data, so I'm just going to do a df show, just a simple df show to show that data. So when I run that, I should see a table. So beyond all of this, I should see a table. Let's give that a shot. Okay, so everything has worked, right? Here's our table. So what we've done, just a quick recap, is exported the results. We've created imported data as a data frame, and we've now sent that data to transform data, which is this function. We have cleaned that data, which is that function. Then we are exporting that data as a data frame, as a delta table, which is this function, and these settings here. Then we are loading that data back in to memory from our delta tables. We're then, as data frames, I forgot that bit, as data frames. Then with those data frames, we're creating temporary tables, and this bit here just zips that data together, and I'm creating temp tables here. Then over here, what I'm doing, I'm just writing a query on one of those tables that I've created and just showing that data, and that's it. All right, so that concludes our ETL, and yeah, it kind of now it's going to now bring me onto a new series. Not new series. I'm still going to carry on with the ETL, but it's going to take me into a new direction. So we've created the framework, and this is like the nuts and bolts. This is like the basis, foundation of what we're doing, and now I can start adding on top of it, and we can start doing some more interesting things. But I needed to show you this bit. All right, so that concludes this section, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Cheers.